America is building again. In California, workers just broke ground on the first track-laying phase of a high-speed rail system. In New York, tunnel boring machines are carving through bedrock beneath the Hudson River. At JFK Airport, cranes are lifting the final steel beams of a massive new terminal. These are the visible pieces of a trillion-dollar construction boom happening right now across America that most people don't even know exists. As of June 2025, California's high-speed rail project has reached a pivotal milestone that signals America's entry into the high-speed rail era. The project has completed 55 infrastructure projects and nearly 70 miles of guideway, with substantial completion of Construction Package 4, the southernmost stretch of the initial operating line spanning 22 miles from the Tulare-Kern border to northwest of Shafter. This project is America's first true high-speed rail system, designed to move passengers between Los Angeles and San Francisco in under 3 hours at speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour. The eventual plan extends the line to Sacramento and San Diego, creating an 800-mile network with 24 stations that will fundamentally reshape California's transportation landscape. Governor Gavin Newsom joined workers outside Bakersfield in January 2025 to celebrate the beginning of the track-laying phase. The symbolic moment marked a turning point for a project that has faced relentless skepticism since its 2008 inception. The authority has successfully mitigated construction quality control challenges, staffing gaps, and funding shortages that typically derail American infrastructure projects. The scale of ongoing construction defies the project's critics. As of April 2025, Construction Package 2 to 3 shows remarkable progress with 23 structures complete, 21 under construction, and only 4 yet to begin. Out of 65 miles of guideway, 37 are complete, with 16 under construction. The Fresno River Viaduct and Hanford Viaduct stand as completed engineering marvels, including the impressive 4,741-foot San Joaquin River Viaduct. The numbers tell the story of unprecedented scale in American rail construction. The project has created 14,700 jobs and generated $21.8 billion in economic output. The authority's estimated revenue for the capital program ranges between $26.7 billion and $29.7 billion, with $14.9 billion remaining in funding through 2030. Federal funding infusion in December 2023 strengthened the baseline, particularly for the critical Merced to Bakersfield segment. But the real transformation lies in what this represents for American infrastructure philosophy. Unlike China's debt-fueled rail expansion that prioritizes speed over sustainability, or Europe's incremental upgrades constrained by existing infrastructure, California is building from scratch with advanced environmental standards and private-public partnerships. The Federal Railroad Administration released a 315-page report criticizing the project for missed deadlines and budget concerns, yet construction continues daily with systematic progress that addresses these critiques. The authority engaged with private equity firms at its January 2025 Industry Forum and is refining its design criteria manual to improve flexibility and cost-effectiveness. Environmental clearance has been obtained for the Palmdale to Burbank segment, and agreements with local entities ensure environmental mitigation. The project champions green building practices through LEED certification and aims to reduce greenhouse emissions by £12.5 billion annually, while reducing foreign oil use by 12.7 million barrels. The Gateway Program's Hudson Tunnel project represents far more than a transportation upgrade. This $16 billion investment addresses what transportation experts consider the most critical infrastructure vulnerability in the American economy. The existing North River Tunnel, built in 1910 and severely damaged during Hurricane Sandy, creates a single point of failure for a region whose economy drives 20% of America's GDP. By May 2025, the Hudson Yards concrete casing project reached over 50% completion, staying rigorously on schedule and budget while supporting 4,820 jobs and generating $986 million in economic output. This represents just one of 10 construction packages that collectively support 20,200 jobs and $4.5 billion in economic activity. The coordination required exceeds typical megaproject complexity. Engineers must stabilize Manhattan's riverbed through ground injection techniques while protecting marine ecosystems, all while maintaining existing rail service that carries 200,000 passengers daily. The Hudson River ground stabilization project involves injecting grout into 1,200 feet of shallow riverbed on the eastern side of the Hudson River, requiring precise engineering to prevent environmental disruption. Construction timelines reveal the project's ambitious scope. The Tunnel Avenue Bridge and Utility Relocation project is more than 3/4 finished and on track for completion by the end of 2025. The Hudson River Ground Stabilization Project completed geophysical surveying of the entire area and is projected for completion by March 2027. The Palisades Tunnel approach on the New Jersey side expects completion in 2027, while the Manhattan Tunnel project will clear the way for tunneling under the Hudson. The economic implications extend far beyond regional convenience. Without these improvements, a tunnel shutdown would cost the economy more than $100 million daily due to the region's outsized contribution to national GDP, with over half of that cost in workers' lost time and wages. This impact would reverberate throughout the entire US economy, making the project a national priority disguised as regional infrastructure. The project's technical challenges require innovative solutions. In February 2025, Gateway Development Commission awarded the $1.18 billion contract for the Manhattan Tunnel project to Frontier Kemper-Tutor-Perini joint venture. This project will build the section from the Manhattan bulkhead in the Hudson River to the cut-and-cover Hudson Yard structure, requiring tunnel boring machines capable of excavating while protecting existing infrastructure. Funding structure demonstrates America's evolving approach to infrastructure finance. The project secured $12 billion in federal funding from the $16 billion total cost, representing a 70-30 federal-local partnership. The FTA provided a $6.88 billion grant, the largest transit grant the federal government had ever given, supplemented by an additional $3.8 billion grant in November 2023. The Port Authority's $19 billion transformation of JFK Airport represents the largest airport redevelopment in American history, fundamentally reshaping how 62 million annual passengers experience international travel. This isn't merely infrastructure modernization, it's economic warfare fought through passenger experience and operational efficiency. In early 2025, Governor Kathy Hochul celebrated the steel topping out ceremony at the new Terminal 6, marking completion of the structural phase for the $4.2 billion terminal. The ceremony featured hundreds of union construction workers watching the final beam of structural steel lifted into place, symbolizing the project's commitment to American labor while embracing global competitiveness. Terminal 6 construction demonstrates the scale of modern airport development. The 1.2 million square foot terminal will accommodate 10 international wide-body contact gates, including 9 wide-body gates designed for the largest aircraft. The project includes significant redesign of airfield taxiways, taxi lanes, and ramp infrastructure, plus a new roadway network serving both departing and arriving passengers. The first 5 gates of Terminal 6 will open in 2026, with the full terminal completion scheduled for 2028. Construction has created 4,000 jobs, including 1,800 union construction jobs, generating direct wages of $1.9 billion. The project maintains a 30% MWBE participation goal, setting a New York State record in contract awards to minority and women-owned firms on a single project. But Terminal 6 represents only one component of JFK's comprehensive transformation. The $9.5 billion new Terminal 1 project broke ground in September 2022 and recently celebrated the start of its third and final phase. This terminal will anchor the airport's south side with modern amenities and expanded capacity designed to handle the world's largest aircraft. The $1.5 billion expansion of Terminal 4, led by Delta Airlines and JFK International Air Terminal, demonstrates how airlines drive infrastructure investment. The project increased airport capacity by building 10 new aircraft parking positions and adding an additional domestic baggage claim carousel. Delta consolidated operations into Terminal 4 in January 2023, opening 10 new gates in Concourse A, with additional expansion to Concourse B. Terminal 8 completed its $400 million modernization in 2022, accommodating British Airways' move from Terminal 7 and expanding to handle more wide-body aircraft. The terminal transformation includes 60 new shop and restaurant offerings, designed to create a New York-inspired destination within the airport. economic impact extends far beyond construction statistics. JFK generates more than $33 billion in sales and $14 billion in wages annually, supporting 149,000 jobs throughout the region. Infrastructure improvements directly translate to economic competitiveness, as delays and inefficiencies at major airports ripple through entire economic regions. The project demonstrates America's distinctive approach to infrastructure investment. Unlike state-directed projects in authoritarian countries, JFK's transformation relies on sophisticated public-private partnerships. JFK Millennium Partners, a consortium including Vantage Airport Group, American III, RXR, and JetBlue Airways, is financing and developing Terminal 6 while maintaining rigorous performance standards. Texas exemplifies America's infrastructure surge with projects that reflect the state's explosive growth and economic transformation. The Southeast Connector project represents a $1.6 billion investment to widen I-20 to 10 traffic lanes from I-820 to US Route 287, while widening I-820 to 8 traffic lanes from I-20 to Rosendale Street. This 16-mile infrastructure project aims to improve travel safety, ease traffic congestion, and promote trade around the Fort Worth area. Texas A&M University's new $200 million space center, adjacent to NASA's Johnson Space Center, demonstrates how infrastructure investment targets future economic sectors. The 32-acre facility will support astronaut training, aeronautics research, advanced robotics, and work on lunar and Martian exploration. The institute will feature an indoor rock yard simulating lighting conditions on the moon and machines creating reduced gravity environments. Houston's zoo is undergoing a sweeping 6-year multi-phase update representing $150 million in infrastructure investment. While seemingly minor compared to transportation projects, these cultural and educational investments reflect comprehensive regional development strategies that extend beyond basic connectivity and capacity. The concentration of projects in Texas reveals broader economic and political patterns. States with rapid population growth and political influence in infrastructure funding receive disproportionate federal investment. Texas leads in total mega project value, reflecting both legitimate infrastructure needs and the state's ability to secure federal resources. Brightline West represents a fascinating contrast to California's public high-speed rail project. This privately operated high-speed rail route will connect the Las Vegas Valley and Rancho Cucamonga, demonstrating how private capital can drive infrastructure development when economic incentives align properly. The project received a $3 billion grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation in December 2023 under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Construction began in early 2024, with revenue service planned for 2027. The private financing model spreads risk, while potentially delivering faster construction timelines than purely public projects. When completed, Brightline West will integrate with California's high-speed rail system and the High Desert Corridor to create a Southwest high-speed rail network linking major cities, including Las Vegas. This regional connectivity approach mirrors successful high-speed rail networks in Europe and Asia while maintaining America's preference for private sector participation. Seattle's $53.8 billion Sound Transit 3 plan represents one of the largest public transit expansions in American history. Approved by 54% of voters in 2016, the project will expand the existing Link Light Rail system to the suburbs of Tacoma, Federal Way, Everett, and Issaquah, as well as Seattle neighborhoods of Ballard and West Seattle. The project demonstrates how regional voter approval can drive massive infrastructure investment even when federal support remains uncertain. Seattle's commitment to public transit reflects both environmental priorities and economic necessity as the region's tech-driven growth strains existing transportation infrastructure. Construction timelines extend through the 2030s, requiring sustained political and financial commitment across multiple election cycles. The project's success will influence transit policy nationwide, as other metropolitan areas observe whether American voters will support European-style public transit investment. These flagship projects represent a fraction of America's unprecedented construction boom. The 117th Congress allocated over $1.2 trillion for infrastructure investment between 2021 and 2030 through the CHIPS Act, Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and Inflation Reduction Act. The federal government allocated $62 billion for infrastructure development in 2025 alone. representing the largest peacetime infrastructure investment since the interstate highway system. The Department of Labor added 16 large infrastructure projects to its megaproject program in 2024, bringing the total to 40 megaprojects valued at $35 million or more. These projects span every region and infrastructure category, from highway expansion to renewable energy installations to advanced manufacturing facilities. The geographic distribution reveals America's infrastructure priorities and political realities. Over 2/3 of total allocation has gone to roads, bridges, and major infrastructure projects, with each state's investment level varying dramatically based on political influence, economic need, and administrative capacity. Wyoming exemplifies this variation, with 76% of current investment targeting climate and environmental initiatives such as Project Bison, the world's most extensive carbon capture program. This reflects the state's resource-based economy and political leadership's strategic positioning to capture federal climate funding. Several new projects commencing in 2025 focus on modernizing infrastructure with Internet of Things technology, including smart highways equipped to enhance traffic management and reduce accidents. This represents a fundamental shift from traditional concrete and steel projects to technology-integrated infrastructure that adapts to changing conditions. The California high-speed rail exemplifies this technological integration. The network will run entirely on renewable energy, helping the state meet climate goals by reducing transportation emissions equivalent to removing 1 million cars from roads annually. Advanced signaling systems will enable trains to operate safely at speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour while maintaining precise scheduling. Similarly, Terminal 6 at JFK integrates sustainable strategies, including solar photovoltaic systems, aircraft de-icing fluid recovery, and stormwater reclamation. High-efficiency lighting, baggage system motors, and automated building controls further conserve energy while improving passenger experience. The Las Vegas Convention Center Loop demonstrates experimental transportation technology. The 1.5-mile underground system moves up to 4,400 passengers per hour through 2 tunnels using a fleet of Tesla vehicles, representing Elon Musk's The Boring Company's first commercial tunneling project. America's infrastructure surge carries profound implications beyond domestic convenience. The Hudson Tunnel project alone will create 95,000 direct, indirect, and induced jobs while generating $19.6 billion in economic activity during construction. These multiplier effects demonstrate how infrastructure investment stimulates broader economic growth through supply chain activation and increased consumer spending. The timing reflects deliberate geopolitical positioning, as supply chain vulnerabilities exposed during the pandemic demonstrated America's infrastructure gaps. Federal investment accelerated to address competitive disadvantages relative to China's Belt and Road Initiative and Europe's connectivity investments. Unlike China's debt-driven infrastructure expansion that prioritizes political control over economic efficiency, America's approach emphasizes private-public partnerships, environmental standards, and union labor protections. Projects like California high-speed rail set new global standards for infrastructure development through LEED certification and greenhouse gas reduction targets. The Biden-Harris administration's $2 trillion Investing in America agenda specifically targets construction trades, workforce development, and equal opportunity access. The megaproject program aims to foster equal opportunity in construction trades while expanding access to millions of jobs created by federally assisted projects. The megaproject distribution reveals America's changing economic geography and demographic patterns. Texas experiences urban expansion with major developments across Houston, Dallas, Austin, and other metropolitan areas, reflecting population migration from higher-cost coastal regions. JFK's $18 billion transformation demonstrates New York's commitment to maintaining its role as America's primary international gateway, despite competition from other coastal airports. The investment directly responds to capacity constraints that threaten the region's economic competitiveness. California's high-speed rail connects infrastructure investment to climate policy and technological leadership. The authority is systematically connecting California's system to the Southwest high-speed rail network, creating regional connectivity that could rival successful networks in Europe and Asia. The Southeast Connector project in Texas illustrates how infrastructure investment follows and enables economic growth. Fort Worth's expanding logistics and transportation sector requires enhanced highway capacity to maintain competitiveness with other regional hubs. The construction workforce requirements for these megaprojects exceed traditional labor market capacity, driving innovative approaches to workforce development and training. JFK Terminal 6 construction prioritizes union jobs while maintaining strict diversity requirements through 30% MWBE participation goals. The Hudson Tunnel project supports over 20,000 jobs across multiple construction packages, requiring coordination between different trades and specialties. This scale necessitates apprenticeship programs and training initiatives that extend beyond individual projects to build regional construction capacity. California High-Speed Rail has created over 15,300 construction jobs, with a majority going to residents of the Central Valley. This geographic distribution reflects deliberate policy to direct economic benefits to regions that historically received limited infrastructure investment. The Department of Labor's megaproject program specifically focuses on removing barriers that prevent people from all backgrounds from accessing construction trades. This includes targeted outreach to underrepresented communities including women, people of color, veterans, and people with disabilities. Modern American megaprojects integrate environmental considerations from initial design through operations, reflecting both regulatory requirements and changing public expectations. California High-Speed Rail will use only renewable energy while reducing greenhouse gas emissions by £12.5 billion annually. JFK's Terminal 6 incorporates sustainable building materials, waste reduction strategies, and energy efficiency optimization. Solar photovoltaic systems, aircraft de-icing fluid recovery, and stormwater reclamation demonstrate how airport infrastructure can minimize environmental impact while maximizing operational efficiency. The Hudson Tunnel project includes extensive environmental mitigation measures to protect the Hudson River ecosystem during construction. Ground stabilization techniques preserve marine habitat while enabling tunnel boring operations beneath the riverbed. These environmental standards distinguish American infrastructure projects from those in countries with less stringent environmental requirements. While this increases costs and complexity, it ensures long-term sustainability and reduces environmental justice concerns in affected communities. The financing mechanisms for these megaprojects represent sophisticated evolution in American infrastructure funding. JFK Terminal 6 demonstrates advanced public-private partnership structures where private consortiums finance construction while maintaining long-term operational responsibility. California High-Speed Rail combines federal grants, state bonds, and private investment in complex financing arrangements that spread risk across multiple stakeholders. The authority's engagement with private equity firms at industry forums signals openness to additional private participation. The Hudson Tunnel project's 70-30 federal-local funding split reflects realistic federal budget constraints while ensuring local stakeholder commitment. This model could influence funding structures for future megaprojects as federal resources remain limited relative to infrastructure needs. Brightline West's private financing model offers an alternative approach where economic returns justify private investment without requiring public subsidies. The success of this model could encourage private infrastructure development in economically viable corridors. These projects will reshape how Americans move and work over the next decade. California's high-speed rail opens between 2030 and 2033. The Hudson Tunnel completes by 2035. JFK's new terminals finish by 2028. But this is just the beginning. America's infrastructure choices today will determine economic competitiveness for the next century. The question is whether this construction boom addresses real needs or just creates headlines. Let us know what you think about that in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to watch the next one shown on screen.